and good afternoon to all the participants of this wonderful job fair. It's a great pleasure to share the panel with Mahipal Nair, Mainak Dar, and Divya Rajvanshi. And we've got an excellent topic which is of current relevance today. Pivot, the only move that matters, is your next one. A beautiful book written by Jenny Blake. And she went on to say, a career pivot as a doubling down on what is working for you to make a purposeful shift in your new related direction. Pivoting, she said, is an intentional, methodical process for nimbly navigating career changes. Career transitions are pivotal for career development. It most certainly involves coming out of one's comfort zone and discovering one's latent potential. There are times of anxiety and hope and anticipation. As women professionals who prepare to make career transitions, it is important that they prepare themselves for the impending change management. It involves changes in their work architecture, which includes dimensions of their role, the new teams they will operate in, the technology they will work with, the work timings, and the base location. We have the panel of experts who will be deliberating on these effective strategies to manage these transitions towards making powerful career pivots. And it's my great pleasure to introduce the panelists to you. Divya Rajvanshi. She has been the cyber security professional over 7 years now, currently working as a senior manager, cyber security operations. Divya strives to protect 300 plus breweries of AB InBev from hackers worldwide. She works in manufacturing plants across the globe to drive awareness and implement technical solutions, hence creating a strong line of defense against cyber adversaries. Thoughts lead to reality is the belief which keeps Divya going. Welcome, Divya, to this panel. It's a great pleasure to have you with us. Mainak Dar, Managing Director of KCC, has spent his career working at some time of the world's leading consumer product companies such as Procter & Gamble, General Mills, and Kimberly-Clark, with a record of transformational leadership and business acceleration. His passion is towards developing strong organizations and is keen on leaving a legacy. He follows a passion for writing and storytelling in parallel to his corporate career of transformational leadership and business acceleration. Mainak has authored some 15 books which have been translated into many languages, including French, German, Portuguese, Vietnamese, Turkish, and Hindi. Welcome, Mainak. Mahipal Nair, sir, Chief Human Resource Officer, South Asia, Africa, and Middle East of Nielsen IQ. He is the human resource leader for Nielsen IQ, and Nielsen IQ operates in more than 20 markets across this region. Mahipal leads a team of 75 plus HR professionals who serve 6,500 associates. In his role, he is responsible for ensuring a constant employee experience, managing people processes, including leadership and talent development, transformation, change management, and building a winning team across these markets. Before joining Nielsen, Mahipal worked for 7 years with Malayalam Manorama, a leading media group in India based out of Kottayam, Kerala. Welcome, Mahipal, sir. It's a wonderful, diverse panel in terms of their experience, in terms of the line of business which they operate, and in terms of our age diversity. So you would get the best of thoughts on career transitions. I can promise to each of you. So with these few words of introduction, I'd like our panelists to share some initial thoughts on this topic before we get to specific questions which we'd like to shoot to them. Yeah, so Divya, would you like to share your thoughts first?
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. So career transition, that too for women, I think it has always been close to my heart because growing up, I have seen women around me making drastic changes, taking that bold step. So first of my mom, I think my mother, she always was a creative person. She used to make a lot of artwork in terms of paintings, and she started her career in teaching computer science to the students. So she developed her interest towards computer science. So she would teach coding to her students. She would teach college students, 11th, 12th standard students, and then she went on to do her masters. She was a topper in her own class. So all of us in the family felt that she's really passionate about computer science, and now she has done her masters, so maybe PhD or taking up higher level of teaching in terms of computer science. But after doing the masters, she decided that she wants to pursue her creative side once again. So she started taking classes on arts, on the latest styles of making paintings, and she has been doing that, and she plans to start her own exhibition of the paintings she has been making. I think from going from starting from the creative side, which was a hobby, and teaching computer science as a profession, and then again going back to uh, 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 getting in touch with the creative side, I felt it was a really bold step because she had a thriving career out there, but then she wanted to follow her passion. um, One of my aunt very close to me, she studied medical science. She started her career as a nurse, and later on, because of the frequent job changes in at her husband's workplace, she had to move cities, and eventually she decided to take up classes for music. And she started,
Wonderful.
she completed all her classes. I really like the fact that her husband and her mother supported her completely in this decision, and
Sure.
till she reached the end, she was out there. And then finally she is now taking classes, music classes for the children. Again, a major shift, but something which she really believes in and find meaning in. So yeah, I
Great
think,
examples.
yeah,
Great
I grew up
examples,
with these.
Divya. Great examples. Mainak, your thoughts, please?
Sure. Hi, good afternoon, Bhavani. And over my 25 years in the corporate sector, I was actually tallying. I've reported to 10 different managers across many different cultures, living in many different countries. 4 of them were women leaders, and I've learned a lot from them in the course of my career. I've had some amazing women working in my team. But again, like Divya, I think what I grew up with and where I learned a lot, which I think is broad lessons, not just for women, but for all of us, is the example of my mother. And I think what I learned from her is its constancy of purpose and passion, but then pivoting as life takes you in different directions, but staying true to what you're passionate about and what your purpose is. So my mother was a master's graduate. She loved teaching. She used to teach in the school. My father was in a government job, so we used to get transferred very often. And we lived in Canada for a few years. She had to take a break from teaching. She came back and started teaching. And as she had some health issues, she couldn't go full time to a school to teach. But then she started teaching kids at her home instead. And I saw her adapt to different life situations, but always being clear on what brings her joy, what she's passionate about, and staying true to that purpose. And for me, it's pivoting is not just changing for the sake of changing, but it starts with clarity on what you're passionate about and then adapting as your situation, as your circumstances change.
Wonderful. Both of you have given good examples of your mother. Normally, the mother is a role model for most of us. So wonderful thoughts. So let me reserve Mahipal sir's comments for our closing. And I'd like to point out that the LinkedIn survey in India says that 3 out of 4 professionals will be changing jobs and moving roles in the next 12 months. They are worried about the professional uncertainties and the market being very competitive in 2021. Make no mistake, career pivots involve more friction, disruptions, and risks rather than simply staying in a linear traditional career path. In your experience, what is the biggest fear that women have to face as they plan their transitions? Can I ask Mahipal sir to go first with his views?
Yes, thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. So I would say that the world, though it's fast changing, the perception and fear that probably affects most, and particularly women, is about the equal opportunity. Now, equal opportunity is something everyone states. Inclusion, diversity has now become a flagship of every organization. Everyone has to. Now, how many actually use these words as just parroting the lines or really mean it? I would say that in a country like India, you just watch the movies, whether it's Hindi, Tamil, Malayalam, or Bengali, or any language, you will see how the treatment is. Even today, you would probably watch movies or number of web series where the equal opportunity is a big question mark. So typically cinema is like, probably Menak would echo that, because as a storyteller, you tell the stories what happening in the society. So so coming back to the question, the biggest doubt or question that would be whether I work in an organization that truly values equality, truly means when they say it's a place of equal opportunity. So that does persist. And like many organizations, the biggest challenge they face is the glass ceiling. Everyone that you speak to, they will say that we have the most fairest of practices. But when it comes to showing the trends, showing the records as to how many are there as CEOs, women CEOs, how many of women happen to be on the board, and the percentage still, there will be very few. It's like a joke. The joke was, for a long time, our CEO's name happened to be David. So there were 3 who had David as their first name. And it was actually when some of because ours is a market research company, and researchers by nature will look into some of these interesting facts. It turns out there are more Davids amongst the top 100 companies than women as CEOs. So that's the reality. So the biggest one is, I would say, is whether there is a sense of fairness, there is a sense of inclusion, and sense of equal opportunity.
Great, sir. Great. Divya, any thoughts to add?
Yeah, I think another fear is the fear of uncertainty in terms of the disruption it is going to cause, the potential disruption it might cause in your personal life. For example, the routines which you have got and the routines you have got with your family members, how much will that get disrupted? I think that is another fear which women would have more than men when making that kind of career transition.
Great. So from the fear of equal opportunity and the fear of uncertainty, Mainak, what do you think?
I just echo what Mahipal and Divya said. I think if I had to sum it up, it's the fear of the unknown. When you're making a career transition in a new organization where you don't know if the environment will be inclusive and conducive for your growth, you don't know what kind of managers you'll be working for and around, and whether you will fit in or not. And also, as Divya said, you don't know what that will mean for the overall balance in your life. So I think when you're making a significant career transition, there are all these unknowns that are playing on your mind that sometimes are the biggest cause of stress.
True, very true. Enough is done by women and by anybody for that matter on evaluating the new position, planning a strategy for change, checking with the connections on how it's going to be, getting advice from mentors. But what do you think will help embrace the change? And how can one prepare for these transitions in a seamless manner? Divya, Can you talk from experience of yourself and others, please, to start the conversation?
I think the biggest help would be the clear communication of expectations and assistance needed. So when my aunt decided to join her music classes, she clearly communicated to her husband, her mother, that she wants to complete the entire course. Her husband would would drop her to the venue, pick her up. Her mother came over to the place to look after the kids so that she can concentrate on their classes. I think she was very clear about what exact help she needs to make that kind of career transition, and that really helped people around her to support her in every way possible. So I think clear communication is the major criteria for making the transition seamless.
Great, using allies at home to help you manage the transition. Mainak?
I'd say three things. The first one is, you mentioned that often when anybody is doing a transition, they talk to people, they talk to mentors, they might, through the interview process, have conversations. For me, the important thing is not just to talk about the job and the prospects and the salary and the position, is really to figure out fit. In its broadest sense, does this fit with what you want out of life? Does this fit in with what your broad expectations are? And, does it fit to the kind of culture you'd want to work in? So I think that's one kind of conversation which is sometimes under-leveraged. And I'd strongly recommend anybody going through a transition to really think about and ask about those with mentors, even during the interview process. I think the second thing is really high degree of self-awareness always helps. If you're going through a significant career transition, being clear on why you are doing it, what are your strengths that you want to build on, what might be some areas you need to work on, so that you're not just going from one change to another. The final piece, which I think is critical, and Divya alluded to, is, there's an African proverb which says that it takes a village to bring up a child. It takes a village to create a career. And that's true for both men and women. All of us require a supporting infrastructure. Being clear on what that looks like. If you need help taking care of the children, if you need to divide up responsibilities with your spouse in a slightly different way, having those conversations early will just allow for a smoother transition.
Great. So allyship, infrastructure, culture, and awareness. Mahipal Nair sir has got a rich experience in witnessing various transitions of all the people which he has dealt with. So we'd like to hear from sir on what are his ideas.
So on transition, I would, because coming from our company's experience, I would say that so transitions can be two types. One is within the company, and another could be outside of the company when you make a career shift or you change a company. But within the company also, there could be different types where you just need to move from one country to the other, or within the location, you move from one role to a completely different role. And each could be as challenging or as new as changing a company sometimes, because like I have experienced multiple times when I change locations, like as good as joining a new company. But I have seen it for happening for now. When it comes to those transitions, then it's just not, and that's where the balance of society comes in. And that's what I was referring to earlier, that for a men, it's still a lot easier as compared to women. So if a woman wants to, like I can talk about my own self, like when I had to shift from one city to other, and I had multiple within the country and outside of the country. And after marriage, it was obviously my wife who had to wait for the transfer to happen. Otherwise, and at some point when the transfer did not happen, and we went the family way, then obviously it was hers which had to take a pause and not mine. Now, of course, times are changing. There are people who will probably, there are men who would pause their career in the interest of women. But these are some of those difficult ones that makes women feel vulnerable or feel twice before making certain changes. But let's come to that, what would help to make these transitions. So I would just add to what Divya and Mainak said, that it's and it's similar to what both of them have said. One is to listen to people around, using the word allies, both within the company where you work and referring to within the company transitions, and listen to what your future location or future role the people who are the key stakeholders say. Or if you're changing company, again, listen to those who have worked there because they are the ones who will give you the true feedback. Because if I join a company and I speak to people who are working versus who have left that company, and because as Benek said, the culture fit is extremely important because those are, if the company happens to be by culture a disrespectful company, I'm not referring to men or women, a disrespectful company where politicking is high, then it is far more challenging for women because they would have to make multiple shifts in order for that move to happen. So listening is important. And then learning about new things, when especially when there is a culture shift of the country also, or a location also. Like within India, you move from one city, Delhi to Chennai, it's a huge culture shift. Or we move from Mumbai to Kolkata or vice versa, it will be huge culture shifts. Those are other things which we typically may not think about, but are important.
Very true. Very
Like
true.
if somebody is moving from Chennai to Delhi, people will warn you about late evenings. So whether that's true or not is some, and then eventually lead your career, because ultimately, if you are a competent professional, then you will find a way.
Yes.
So
Very
that's how I believe.
Very true. In India, every 7 kilometers, there's a different culture, sir. You really said it well. And having listened to all three of you, I can't resist sharing my experience on career transition. 40 years, I have been an auditor and never thought of a career transition. Suddenly, I decided to close that career because I got an opportunity to close. And I just made a transition to an area of passion. I've been the inclusion and diversity leader for 5 years. And what struck me best was the cultural fit with the current organization in which I am. And I thank the leader and the organization for it, that not a single day I have felt that I've transitioned. So as Manik said, the cultural fit is very important. And I would add that it is your passion. In fact, I spent very little time thinking about what I have an interest in. And in my age, I looked at health counseling, I looked at looking at children who are less privileged, but I thought I don't have the mental strength for it. And I thought my confidence and my environment has been the corporate environment. And that's why I said, let me work in trying to arrest the attrition of women at mid-level and senior level. So that was my career transition. And after 40 years, which I never even imagined I was going to do. So that's my experience on a seamless transition. Great. A woman who's on a career break needs to introspect and be aware, in my opinion, on 3 aspects. Knowing her zone of genius, knowing who she is, and how to talk with confidence about herself. Actively resist being controlled by your fears. Just like the pandemic, the uncertainty which our panelists spoke about. And the third thing is to prioritize with confidence the fact that you can face failure and change. And for those transitions, especially, which would be a return after career break, what are the dynamics involved? Our panelists should be able to throw much more light on this. So let's start with Sir. You would have seen a lot of transitions, Mahipal sir, so especially women who would join back, and you've seen it across cultures, different countries. So you could give us some ideas.
Yeah, so that's one big fear that, and I will start with the saying that I haven't seen too many who would have a conversation within the company, like while going on those breaks. I think Divya spoke about setting the expectation. So if I were to bring that here, I think it will be simple to say that there were only few that I have seen before going on leave talked about what they will want to do after they return. In fact, most are worried about what would happen when they come back, and these are like basic things, which again, unfortunate, because the reason that concern is there is because that's the kind of system that persists, which is whether I will get my raise, whether I'll get promoted, whether I will have the role that I'm currently doing, or whether I will progress. And there will be some who will who will even ask the difficult question whether I'll get promoted and I'll get a bigger role when I return. Now, that's where the equality comes in, and that's where many organizations have to do much more than what they are doing today. So I would say that conversation should happen, and organizations should do that more proactively. Of course, systems have changed, like we have seen government also changing the rules, making it a lot easier, especially I'm talking about, if we take the biggest break could be when you take the maternity leaves. But let's say if you are going for a wedding, your own, that is, then also there will be a break, but may not be as long as maternity break. But for example, the government has changed the laws and it's like 6.5 months, which is pretty decent. And for a company like us, which we started this long leave period much before the government started. So we pretty much assume it's a 1-year break. Now, when those conversations happen, then it makes a lot easier, a lot reassuring. And then when any long break closes and you return to the work, then the first few months or few weeks will also be as difficult, because it's like 1 year, let's take 1 year as a gap. 1 year or 6 months is long gap. Much changes. Organizations are moving so fast that, so bringing the principles of inclusion, whose responsibility is to make the person included, is the organization's responsibility. And from an individual, the responsibility, I would say, or the onus is just to make sure that the conversation happens before they go on leave or any such break, because it's very clear then when they come back, a lot would have changed. And holding people accountable to that conversation. So that would be my piece of advice. Yeah.
Wonderful to listen to the organizational perspectives and the responsibility which lies with senior leaders in the organizations. Mainak?
Well,
Can I
I'd
hear
say,
from you?
yeah, so Bhavani, I won't repeat what Mahipal said. I think he made some great points, but I'd just say a couple of things which I think would be enablers, and where I think we do need a mindset shift among corporate leaders and managers. And I think the one is the belief that career progression has to be linear. I think there's an ingrained belief that, you know, you do X, you do Y, you do X plus Y, and that's how you build your career. And if there's a break, oh my God, something went wrong. I think we just need to completely get rid of that mindset. In the world we live in, a lot of people are building incredibly successful, fulfilling lives and careers through detours where they're learning more about themselves, where they're picking up new skills. The only skills you pick up are not by being employed by a corporation. And I think we just need to get rid of that mindset, because I think that's a byproduct of an archaic system, which probably was true 50 years ago when everybody grew up through a government bureaucracy. I think we just need to get rid of it, take a broader view of how people can learn and develop. The second thing I think that's a mental block that a lot of organizations need to get rid of is think of and welcome people, as a holistic person who is more than the designation they have in the job they do. Stuff happens in everyone's lives, men and women. And I think the more organizations are able to have holistic conversations about what a person wants out of their life, what's happening in their lives, do they need to take a break for some reason, do they then need to come back, and it's okay because that could happen in everyone's life, versus idolizing and putting on a pedestal, you know, the stereotypical corporate martyr, which is I will sacrifice everything else in my life, but, you know, I will continue in that linear progression in my job. I think those are stereotypes we need to break. I think that will be a big unlocker to accepting more diverse career journeys and make it easier for women to come back after career breaks without feeling defensive, without feeling apologetic, without feeling like they've done something wrong.
What would be your thoughts on those women who are on career break during this pandemic time and they would be returning post-pandemic? Is there any additional aspects on dynamics which you want organizations and individuals to think about?
Well, I've talked about for the organizations. I'd say for any individual who's on a career break is to continuously learn. Learning is not something which is a switch you flick when you get a job. So whatever field you're in, whatever you're passionate about, continue to learn about that, whether it's by engaging in a course, whether it's by doing some projects, whether it's by reading. And I think that's what usually becomes a barrier, is people associate employment with learning. The two have nothing to do with each other. And if you are on a career break, whether it's your own choice or whether something was triggered by the pandemic, understand what you're passionate about, keep seeking out opportunities to learn, stay current in that area so that when the time comes or you choose to get back into employment, you're not waiting for that job to start learning again.
True. Research has shown that people are spending so much time and effort on learning during this pandemic times. Divya, what are your thoughts on the dynamics involved in this
I think,
transition?
I'll speak from a person taking the break, from the point of view of a person who's taking a break. So taking a break can be of two types. One is that you're changing your career and you know exactly where you're going, or sometimes you need a time off and you just need to rethink about or rediscover your passion. I think the second one is not so socially accepted by the society right now, and that is why a person who wants to take time off uh, might think that, okay, what are people going to say, what am I going to write in my resume, or what I'm going to put down there in the LinkedIn. So I think taking time off to rediscover your own skills or your own passion, I think that should be something which we all should encourage, because as we say, brain functions the best when we have intense focus followed by breaks, and we need to give that much of priority to the breaks. So the person who's taking a break also should be proud of it and be able to tell everyone that this is the reason I'm taking a break, and yes, I am this is what I want to do. So I think that is one. And another thing is that when a person is on break, be it sabbatical or maternity, any kind of break, it would be great if the person also takes the ownership, apart from expecting things from the company, but also takes the ownership to be connected about what is going on in the industry, what is going on in the organization, so that when they join back, they are not completely clueless about what has happened, and they don't take much time to bridge the gap.
Wonderfully said, Divya. It's not a guilt to have a career break, but one should be proud to say that I'm on a break. Wonderful thoughts. Julia Child worked in the advertisement and media for 50 years, and she wrote a cookbook and launched herself as a celebrity chef in 1961. Martha Stewart, a full-time model till 25 years, a Wall Street broker for 5 years. She then moved to gourmet cooking and took to creative presentation. Martha Stewart, living omnimedia, was her child. Vera Wong, a figure skater and a journalist, entered the fashion field at the age of 40, and she became a world's premier designer in that industry. Grandma Moses, as she's fondly called, who was a housekeeper and a farm laborer, began a prolific painting career at the age of 78. Her paintings were sold for $1 million each. Divya, you can tell your relative about this story. So, what, according to you all, is the right time to make a career transition, especially for women? So, Mainak, would you like to start?
Sure. So I guess, Bhavani, the first thing I'd say is it's very difficult to talk of a right time because it's very individual. And I think the better question for anyone to ask themselves when they're thinking of a career transition is not when, but why. And I think sometimes the best reasons to do career transitions are when you feel that your potential is not being fulfilled with what you're doing now, and doing something different would really unlock it. Or you feel that you're not truly living up to what you're passionate about and you want to make a transition to follow that. Or you feel that the kind of balance you have holistically in your life isn't working for you. So I think it's really asking the why and then being clear on it. So I don't think it's time bound. To be honest, I think it applies to both men and women. But I think it's really being conscious of the why, continuing to ask those questions, and then seeing if a transition would help you either grow in the direction you want, fulfill yourself, or find a better balance.
Great thoughts. Mahipal sir?
Yes, similar to what Manik said. So I would say there is no age, there is no time for these things. So when you think about things like purpose, passion, meaning of life, it can happen at any age, at any time. It can happen once a person, what is technically called retirement, though I don't believe in that word, but let's say a person retires at 58, 60, whatever the age be. And since, let me just take a slight detour. When people talk about retirement, they forget that sports people usually retire at mid 30s. So retirement should be taken with that sporting attitude that a Sachin Tendulkar retires at 30. So that likewise, there is no time for it. There is no age for it. You may continue to do things and you might just get bored out of it. And that's where what Divya mentioned, that for some reason, we need to remove this taboo of taking break, taking sabbaticals, because you never know when that right choice will come. And ma'am, Bhavani ma'am, you said about after work being a auditor for such a long time and being a chartered accountant, you chose to do things differently. These are the kind of stories that we need to celebrate. And it happens all the time. By the way, politicians get to their biggest role when they are 70s or 60s. So no reason why we and again, this is gender neutral. But yeah, when it comes to women, it could possibly be that, yes, given the way, because it will take a while for us, a society, to move to a more egalitarian one. Till that happens, yes, we should always remember that there's no time, there's no age, and you never know when you will discover the true self or true purpose.
Excellent, sir. Divya, your thoughts?
Yeah, I completely agree. What I feel is that I think mental bandwidth is something which we need to consider when we are making a transition. So I personally feel there should not be too many changes happening in personal life as well as in career, that everything goes haywire and we are unable to maintain a balance in both. So if there is a major happening in personal life, maybe we can consider taking the career transition, give it a little time so that we can plan ahead well in advance and we can have a support system in place.
Great.
And likewise.
Great. Let's do a quick rapid fire. The one thing which women should keep in mind when they think of a transition, one word, each of you.
Prepare.
Prepare? Yes?
Communicate.
Yeah. Thank you. The one thing which women should not fear.
Change.
Yes.
Acceptance.
Acceptance. Yes. Manak, any thoughts?
I would say change.
Okay. The one character skill women should develop and possess before they think of a transition.
Confidence.
Great.
And assertiveness.
Yeah.
Assertiveness.
Unapologetic.
Yes. Wonderful. And it's been so nice to get your thoughts on this topic. And I'm sure it would be a great motivation for all the people gathered here. And can I have your closing thoughts in brief, as a matter of advice or as a matter of, your sincere suggestion to people here? Manak?
Well, I guess, Bhavani, in terms of suggestions, I'd have two sets of suggestions. One is for corporations and managers, is I won't even say be open-minded, just stay in tune with the times. Because too often we rationalize the status quo, and what we realize is our society and people's expectations have changed a lot. So just be in tune with what people want today, what women want today, and evolve your policies, your mindsets to match with that. And I'd say for women thinking of career transitions, the word I said, be unapologetic about who you are. You don't need to apologize for your choices, but equally be clear on why you're doing what you're doing, have the right conversations, equip yourself so that you can succeed in your transition, and create that network of allies to help you succeed.
Great. Divya?
I think when thinking of a transition, a woman needs to be as curious as a child and be excited, and make sure to not take any kind of taboo in terms of taking a break or starting at a completely new place with a lower designation or a lower salary, as long as they believe in what they are doing and they love it.
Manak? Mahipal, sir?
Yes, sir. So yes, the first one I would I follow this quote: "Be the change you want to see." So first, challenge the status quo, because the status quo will only change when you challenge it. No matter what, you have to challenge. And then second, have the courage of conviction, because if you have the courage of conviction, challenging the status quo will be easier. asking question will be easier. And if people are not willing to respond, then have the courage to find another alternative, because there will always be places, there will always be organizations who may not have the same courage to make the change with themselves. So yeah, these are the two things I would say.
Great thoughts. I would like to add only one aspect for our people who are here to think about, that the pandemic has opened a lot of non-conventional areas in terms of careers to think about. It is not those traditional careers which were full-time opportunities. Today, if you look at the ones which are emerging, the opportunities are huge. And I think women who are thinking of pivoting should explore those areas and really be successful in those avenues. It's been a great session, sharing wonderful thoughts with you all, and it has been of great value to all our participants. And thank you so much for sparing your time on behalf of Avatar. My sincere thanks to Divya, to Manak, and to Mahipal sir for being here and sharing your ideas and your piece of valuable advice to all our people.